Okay, third in the series, warning notices. So you've had a bit of work done by a gas engineer or a landlord gas safety certificate, for example, and you have received a warning notice. Quite possibly will show, if it's an AR or an ID, will show here as a number, and that number should then correspond to the number on the warning notice. Right, you're going to be asked to sign this, and it's quite simple. You've got three different types of warning. Immediately dangerous, at risk, and not to current standards. Now, immediately dangerous means basically right now it is posing a danger to you. It could be a gas leak, it could be, a leak of products of combustion, it could be safety devices on the appliance and not working, and it could, So it is at that moment, it is right now, dangerous to use. It needs to be turned off. Now in that instance, the gas engineer has a duty of care, and if you refuse to have it switched off, they can in fact get National Grid or what we used to call Transco to come and isolate it. So immediately dangerous is the highest level, and really you ought to just allow them at that point to disconnect it and get the fault rectified. At risk. Now, you might think at risk is, let's take the example of a car. Immediately dangerous, one of the wheels has fallen off. You have three wheels on your car, it's not safe to use. Imagine at risk is the equivalent of one of the wheels is loose. It's about to fall off. It's very soon going to become, or could very soon become, immediately dangerous. So it's telling you that right now it's not dangerous, but it could quite quickly become immediately dangerous. So this one, you don't have to have it switched off. You can decide not to have it switched off. However, it's worth just knowing that this at risk can quite happily turn into an immediately dangerous in the right circumstances. So it is advisable to have the work done. I know quite a lot of people will what they'll do to try and get out, especially if they're trying to sort of downplay the situation. They'll just say sign this, and they'll put a sticker on it to say it's at risk, and they'll just leave without explaining the severity of it. The basics are at risk can turn into immediately dangerous because it's the potential for an immediately dangerous. There's also the other one, which is a gas escape, and again there's no choice on that one. If there's a gas leak, it needs to be turned off and disconnected. If you don't permit that, then, as I say, the gas transporter can switch it off. They can call Transco and they will do that for them. And then it comes on to, you see, look, it says here, immediately dangerous and at risk installation should not be used. The other issue, the other things you can have are not to current standards. Now these are things like, where basically it's not a current danger. However, in the interest of safety, it's recommended that it's upgraded. Let me give an example. These days, in a HMO, so in a house of multiple occupation, what the regulations say is that you should have flame failure devices on the cooker. That's where if the gas goes out on the cooker, it switches the cooker off. Most hobs have them these days. It's not to current standards to not have them. So that's an example of a not to current standard. It's things that should be dealt with, but are not currently a danger. Now you will be signing this to say you have seen and accepted the fact. It's meaning what it's saying is that you realise that in ID or AR situations it could present a hazard and it could put you in breach of the gas safety regs. Now the danger with these is ID. The engineer will usually impress that on you sufficiently well. AR, this is the tricky one. This is the one where the engineer can not fully do his job and if not fully explain to you the severity of the situation, because he doesn't need to switch it off. He can still leave, for example, your boiler running just with a sticker on it. They are looking at changing the regs for these because there have been deaths when the situation has been AR. The customer has continued to use the appliance, and unfortunately what's happened is that the AR has turned into an ID and it has actually killed someone. So those are the basics. ID off, and Transco can switch it off for you, for the engineer, whether you like it or not. AR, you don't have to have it switched off, you can refuse. However, as I've said, it can turn into ID quite easily. And then gas escape has to be switched off. and they're not to current standards. There's loads of things on here, and they're always worth listening to. The clips on the pipe works further apart than they usually than they should be under today's regulations, is one example. Or the ventilation is only 90% of what it should be, for example. You know, there's all kinds of things that could go in here, and it's worth listening, because the engineer will happily explain this to you. But the thing to do is to realise that this form is only used for your safety. It's not used to try and make money. It's not used to try and do anything, because this form's not going to make anyone any money. This form is for the engineer to do his job, to fulfil his duty, to tell you that you have a problem. There we are. I hope that helps. I know there's not much to it, but there we go.